Hey, my name is Kylie Legge, and I'm going to be presenting today's webinar, which is about inspirational marketing in the time of COVID. Before I do get started though, I wanted to acknowledge the Gadigal of the Eora Nation, who are the traditional owners of the land on which we are hosting this webinar today. I know that some of you are in different areas, and for those we also pay our respects to elders past, present and emerging, and really recognise and celebrate the oldest living culture in the world. I think it's always good to get started. I'm not going to be able to get to know all of you that are out on the other side, but just so that you get a bit of a feel for me. I actually grew up in a small town in the Southern Highlands, so I have a long and loving relationship with small towns and main streets and small business. I also am a small business owner, so I have, this is actually my third business that I have run, but as a formal business, but before that I was always a bit of an entrepreneur. So I've been at the markets, I made Christmas crackers for a few years, and I've also made scarves that I've sold at markets, and always been really interested in kind of, I guess, the creative process of really reconnecting with people at the very local level. For me, I guess the last 9 months, like many of you out there, has been really challenging at times, also kind of exciting because it allows you to think really differently about your businesses and how you can kind of refresh them in this time of sort of crisis. It's always really an interesting time, I think, to change. But there's also that, as I said, the challenging time. And really, I guess this is, I mean, I've been talking about this quite a lot. When over that first month in March, early April, I felt like I was out to sea with my little feet flipping under the water madly, not knowing what was coming next. And it was really lonely and quite scary. But what I recognized really quickly is that there are a lot of other small businesses like myself, and that if we actually connected, we had more chance of surviving and potentially thriving than we ever would alone. And so this program, which this webinar today is part of, is really about empowering and building the capacity of small businesses to not just cope with what's going on, but actually to use it for that opportunity to really to change and to refresh and actually put yourself ahead of the game. So when in a big picture, there's types of things that you should be thinking about, which we'll be talking about in this program of webinars, is around really understanding our customers and how they get access to your product, whether or not that's sort of driving in and parking, walking in, going online, or hearing by word of mouth. How do they get access to your products, and are you meeting and talking to the right types of people that actually would be interested? Then making sure that what you've actually got is what they need right now. Next week's session is all about customers and really understanding that just like it's changed for us as business owners and workers, it has really changed for customers. I know that my spending habits and behaviours have changed significantly over the last 9 months. And so therefore I have to think differently about my customers and how they want to access my services. Identity, it's about really connecting around story and brand, and that's going to be something that's got all through all 5 webinars, but we're going to talk a lot about that today, where it's kind of a fun beginning to this program where we get a bit inspired by some really clever and fun things that are happening globally. And last but certainly not least is the opportunity for partnerships, about how do we work together, whether or not that's with your neighbouring business or similar businesses in your area in terms of clustering, or partnering to provide complementary services or support from business to business, but also business with business to customer. And again, I'll show some of those ideas for you as well. So today is the first of a 5-week program. You don't have to come to all of them, but I know quite a few of you have already booked in for all 5 sessions, so we are going to be looking forward to having you. I'm not going to be presenting all of them, but I am doing today's, the inspirational marketing in the time of COVID, as well as next week, which is about redefining your customer and making sure your product actually is a good fit with them. So we're going to look at a few different types of business case studies and different customers, using research from the Hawkesbury region, looking at who your audiences are now, now, like in terms of population, but also how your population is going to change over time and how you can be thinking about longer term strategies. On the 15th of September, Anne Chesterman from Circulate, who's a digital marketing agency, is going to be talking about how to stand out in the crowd. So you've probably got some kind of online presence already. She's going to be talking about how do you maximize the impact of around that? What are the different tools and tips that you can use? Week 4 is back to me, and this one is a little bit more about the practical sides of things, about how do you actually make sure, firstly, I mean, there's a whole COVID safety, there's about education, there's about being able to really stabilize your business so that you can grow and change. Because if you are out in that water by yourself, paddling away with your feet, is not a great place. You're not very stable to be able to grow, and you don't have much energy. You're exhausted all the time. So that session's really going to be about how do we actually make sure you're okay and that the business is stable before you can think about doing kind of more exciting things. And then the last session is going to be again back with Circulate with Janine Gugan. I will hope I said her name right. And she is going to be talking about how do you get actually online sales. So whether or not you have completely nothing online at the moment in terms of selling, or you've got things and you want to make them better, that session is really for you. And if you think going that you don't need that, I say think again. The future definitely is a mixture of bricks and mortar shop fronts as well as online. And even if you only sell some small things online, it's a good driver to your bricks and mortar, and equally your bricks and mortar can drive traffic to your online sales. So I'm looking forward to that as well. It's certainly not my area of expertise. A little bit of housekeeping. If you haven't used Zoom before, you will see that there's a menu that you can drop down, and it has a little thing saying chat, and you might want to open that up. You can see already that Amelia has put a link up there for next session if you haven't booked in for that one, and you just want to book into that. But she'll also be giving links throughout the session to different, there's free tools and things that are being offered. So she'll be putting those in there. So please do open it up. And in the short term, let's just check you can all use it. So if I can get hellos from everybody. Excellent. Thanks, Neela. Hi, Paul. Excellent. And that's Anne, who'll be with you in a couple of weeks. Jessica, nice to meet you. See you. Fantastic. Okay, it looks like we've got that sorted. If anyone needs anything, Amelia is on the chat as well. So if you've got any problems with the Zoom through the session, the best thing is just to close it out and re-link into it. Sometimes it can be a little bit clinky, especially if there's lots going on. I found out that the reason why Zoom crashed last week, which nobody knew why, was because America went back to school, and so much of their schools are actually now online via Zoom that it actually crashed out Zoom. So that shows how the world has changed significantly. If you've got questions throughout the session, we will try and open that up at the end, but please write them as you go through, or if you want some more detail about any of the case studies, please let me know and I can try and give you more information about that. We are recording this session, so just be aware of that. It's going to be put online on the council website, so for other businesses to be able to access afterwards. Obviously we'll keep it nice and clean and hopefully creative without any kind of problems. So I'll get started. Today's session really is, I guess, sharing with you some of the really clever things that I've been seeing and pulling down that have really been a bit of an inspiration for me and really helped us talk to other businesses in your area, but also in other areas across Australia. They're not meant to be like, oh, we can do that tomorrow, but I guess to show you a really good range of the way that people are responding specifically to COVID and the situation, both here and abroad, but also I think just about how to kind of really set yourself apart in your business. And I'll be showing different things for retailers, from commercial businesses. So hopefully there's a bit of something for everyone. Just so I do get a feeling for who is in the room, you should see a poll now on your screen, and you can answer what type of business you work for or you have. Excuse me, we're very close to a hospital. You should be able to click on that and vote on the type of poll, of the type of business that you're in. Thank you. So we've got one in farming, one in retail, commercial, office. Neela, are you seeing the poll there? And Jessica? Oh, okay, community services not listed. Yep, great, thank you. I should have picked that up. And accommodation, hospitality, we were going to put tourism. That was something I missed, so thank you very much for sharing that. And anybody else want to add anything in? Publishing, excellent. Okay, really good mixture in the room then. So hopefully there'll be a bit of something for everyone, but please, yeah, as I said, please keep asking questions in the Zoom chat. So, as I said, oops, oh, and I can share result. Stop sharing. Just let me clean up that. Fantastic. Okay, so let's get started. There is a lot of different ways that you can think about marketing in sort of crisis or in times of really big change. One of the things though, I think that's been really important, and I'm sure everyone has seen it, is about being relevant to right now. It's not like that anyone doesn't know what's going on. So there is a fine line, I think, between kind of like overdoing it and kind of underdoing it. But realistically, COVID is the biggest event that has happened in our lifetimes. It's global, it's impacting everybody at different levels. Some people are being impacted that they're working a lot harder than they did before COVID. Some people are working a lot less. Some people are impacted because of their health or their inability to connect with family. So there's lots of different things, and it's really important that I think that you are really honest about what's going on. It may not be the same for you as for other people, but it's real for everybody in the way that it is actually impacting them. It doesn't have to all be, you know, really doom and gloom though. What I've loved about some of the ways that people are responding is that it's really local and it can be fun. So yes, you can be safe, but this is so Australian, and you know, a really clever idea from someone that I'm sure is going to make them good money as well, because you could sell these as well as them being actually a tool to engage with customers in their businesses. This kind of thing, I think, if you've got ideas like this and it's something that you can put together, as I said, not only is it an Instagrammable idea that people would take a photo of it or they're going to share it on their social media, it does the job of actually keeping people within safe distances, and then potentially becomes a product. So it's kind of got a three-way bonus there, which I really love. There's global brands that are responding. I just saw this last week. This is a new campaign that's been launched by Kentucky Fried Chicken, if you didn't recognize it. I'm not sure if it's launched here in Australia as well. But you know, this idea of going, actually, you can't put your hands in your mouth anymore, I think is really clever, because it's actually saying, you know, we know who we are. We know that it is really good, but right now we can't do that. So it's not a permanent removal. It's just like, okay, for the meantime, let's not stick our fingers in our mouths. If you've got brands already that may be compromised because of the current situation, I think this is a really good way to think going, well, how could I just tweak it for the short term that would allow me to go back once things have actually rectified? If you're a commercial business, I've seen quite a lot of things like this, where it is actually kind of saying, well, we've got a lot of resources that can help you, resources that may have been already free before COVID. These could be blogs that you already have on your you know, LinkedIn profiles, or it could be something that you've written for in any other social, or even for journals or for newspapers. And how do you actually bring the right content that would be helpful to your customers, so that even if they're not buying your services right now, they're coming back to your website because they know you're being relevant to what's going on and you're being able to help them. This is it's a legal firm. It's actually designed for young startup companies who obviously don't have as much money if they're new. And so they've pulled together these resources. Sometimes they're resources that they've made themselves. Sometimes they've just actually provided resources that are like the latest government rules, etc. It just means that I don't have to go to 6 websites. I can just come to this one place here, and that's building my loyalty to this brand and to this business, because I know that they're actually out there to help me. These are 2 completely different approaches to hand sanitizers. I know that, we've all got to do it. It can be really quite clunky, or it can be quite beautiful and special. Lush Cosmetics, which is actually an Australian brand, this was their marketing in England within weeks. They put these big signs up, because one of the things they offer is trialing things. So they have things like water setups and stations in their shops already. That they put these signs up saying, if you're out and about and you want to wash your hands, this is way before all the sanitizers came into being, that you could go in there. Now, it was a huge, what a great way to firstly talk about cleanliness and their brand, but also getting people into their shops in a grateful way of saying this is actually a way to keep safe. On the left-hand side, a completely different, this is the Ministry of Culture and Information Policy of Ukraine. And they've got a whole suite of these quite beautiful posters. They really are lovely. One of them's for hand sanitizers, but there's ones for wearing masks. And, it's the art of quarantine. So they're connecting with something they've got and telling a really good story, even if you can't go to the art gallery at the moment. It's making people remember how beautiful that is and what a great contribution art can have to, obviously, you as the community. So the next section that we talk about is sort of how do we connect with your customers and understand their needs and be empathetic to the fact that they're different. We don't know necessarily what's going to happen, and so while the Hawkesbury isn't being really heavily impacted right now by COVID, you've seen what's happened in Melbourne. There could be another lockdown. We don't know what's going to happen when JobKeeper and JobSeeker kind of starts tapering off next month. Or it could be something completely new. We had bushfires last Christmas. And so each time something like this happens in the outside world, outside of your business, your customers are impacted. So really building a relationship that's based on care and building loyalty is really important for the long-term security of your business. We want to make sure that we're talking to them also not just when they're stressed or when you're stressed. So this is a long-term relationship building approach. I love Windsor. I've been working with a number of the Windsor malls. I see a couple of them are on the line today. And having a really good online following, and you'll get lots more talking about this with Circulate, is really important. So I think going at the beginning of COVID, it was sitting about 8,000 people that were following this page, and they've collected nearly 900 more over the last 6 to 9 months. That's an amazing starting base, but it's also great to see kind of that raise. And what a site like this does, it's obviously at a precinct basis, but it actually can help inform people about what's going on. And I love the where's COVID safe there. If you can commit your businesses to that, that's great messaging as well. And it's giving information when people want to get it. So it's not hard marketing into people's inboxes, but when I'm kind of flicking through, I can see what's going on, and that's going to attract me because I know what day of the week people are open, have their hours changed. So you definitely want to be giving the information they need to be able to make good decisions. On the right-hand side here is a business at home. It's a home decoration. It's American, this one. And if you haven't or thought about how you're going to communicate if the situation changes, these kinds of emails were really useful for many people to actually understand. And it says, and I love the fact this one has a photograph of the chairman, that it's really personal, that they've already started thinking about solutions. How do we make it easier for you? So you can call, you can email, we can organize something so that you don't have to come into the store. It's really kind of saying, I'm trying to find a way for any customer, regardless of your circumstances, for us to be able to keep our relationship and selling product to you, but building this relationship and being careful about you, I think is a really nice kind of message that I get from an email like that. And, you know, they don't have to be long, they don't have to be in a lot of detail, but they give me the information that I need. There's been quite a few businesses that have been using this as an opportunity, particularly if they're bigger businesses, but you don't have to be massive. Pret is quite a large business in Europe. This is in England, this particular one. And so here, the National Health Service workers get hot drinks for free if they go there, and 50% off everything else. And I think that that's a really beautiful way to kind of say, well, we can contribute back to our community. Now, if you can't do this to this extent, there might be other things that you're able to do for your local community. And there's certainly been a lot of examples, I think, of businesses that are doing well, contributing back to the community. In my community, we have a number of businesses that have made a food pantry, which is where they donate packaged foods for those people who are doing it tough, and it's in a location that feels comfortable to go to, that people that may not have previously needed support and now can actually go there and feel kind of that they're loved by the community, and that feels really generous, and it makes me want to support those businesses more because I know they're going on to support other people in the community. So be thinking about how you might be able to do that and share that story, I think is a really healthy one and really good for your marketing efforts. It doesn't all have to be kind of about, you know, the care and the sort of the helping people who are in trouble. It can also be about just helping people be engaged and connect. So as more people are staying at home and looking for things to do, I've seen quite a lot of different businesses offering these kind of at-home interactive opportunities for families to do things together, for you to do something that's creative, but is always connected to your brand and your business. So the artist design colouring pages, lovely, download, print, share, and then you're building that relationship again because you're now showing it to people. Isolation challenge about how to make, they're making vanilla ice cream thing. So the first part of that is to be able to make the biscuits, or Lehman's here where you can make your own butter. But of course you have to buy the butter churn, but it's a lovely idea again. And then cocktails, which I don't know about you guys, but I've certainly enjoyed a few of those. Maybe not as sophisticated looking as that. There were certainly days where it didn't look like that at all. But you know, this is really engaging because they're getting something for free. They're learning. It's interesting. It's something you can do with friends or with your family. You can connect on Zoom or other online to participate in it, but they're most likely going to buy product from you as well to do the job. So a really good way to keep people engaged and build that community of users. I guess most of you have heard of Instagram. So Instagram and Netflix did a partnership, which I think is really interesting at the beginning of this, and they're running a campaign about You Want to Talk About It. So they've actually been making content to share with their viewers. It's around mental health and really keep giving people a voice who maybe are isolated and don't have anyone to talk to. It's great for both businesses. It connects with their brand, but it is a gift back to the community, and it's about content. The lower one here, the Executive Insight series, this is something that I've done with some of my customers. So I work with a lot of local governments, and now seems to be a really good opportunity to talk about something that's important to all of us, which is regional livability. How do our rural and regional communities, not just through this, but what's the next steps and how do we do that? And so partnering with here a lot of different businesses to give a free session that was similar to what we're doing now, but that actually connects in with my content expertise that I can then share with customers, which again is about building brand loyalty, but it's also about actually kind of taking them along on the journey so that when people are coming out of this and making decisions, they'll be thinking about us potentially as a business. So you've probably got expertise, every single one of you, that other people would be interested in. And I think this is probably something when I was looking at all this, and if people were going, oh no, but I couldn't do that, that's not for me. Everything that you do that's completely normal for you is really new for me and interesting and engaging. Like every business has something or someone or some kind of product or way you talk about it that is unique, and it's about unpacking that and finding it so that you can share with other people, and you'd be surprised how many people are interested in knowing. So the next section I wanted to talk about is about working together to attract customers to a precinct rather than just a single business. We've been doing work in South Windsor and Windsor Mall around this, and it is a great opportunity. It doesn't have to be even a whole precinct. It might be just you with your next door neighbour or someone sort of down the road. We've probably seen now a lot of these kinds of posters and marketing that have been shared around in your social media. I actually, these two were really at the beginning, I'd say again within the first couple of weeks. I particularly like the Mount Eliza. This is a community that's about 40 minutes outside of Melbourne, sort of semi-coastal. And what I like about this is the educational component about it. So this $10 per week in a Mount Eliza business would be worth nearly $50,000 a week or $2.5 million a year. And that, I think, people don't understand, even though we go, oh yeah, buy local, what actual impact it does when you spend on a local business versus spending online, shipping things from overseas, or in one of the bigger stores that are owned by offshore. So don't be afraid to be honest with your customers and find ways to communicate what a big impact it has. I worked on a precinct years ago, and they were really a premium precinct. And they had products like, you know, they were mostly restaurants and cafes. And it cost, you know, $40 to $50 to sit down there for anything. And, you know, they wanted everyone to spend that kind of money or more. Yet we worked out that there was, over the course of a year, 5 million people walked past this precinct. It had huge foot traffic. But those people that were walking past weren't on those kinds of incomes. So we worked out if each of those, if they could get each of those people to spend just $5 once a year, you know, that's a huge amount of money. But because the price point didn't match up with the customer, they were losing that, because those 5 million people walking weren't going to stop for a $50 breakfast or, you know, a glass of wine and a snack, but they would have stopped maybe for a $5 or $7 pastry and a coffee. And so making sure that you can actually match those customers, the ones that you've got right now versus the destination customers, which you might have had previous to COVID as well, can really change your whole community. The one in Melbourne, I don't know why they were all in Melbourne. Melbourne was very proactive actually early on in terms of their communications for their precincts, but really beautiful. And don't be afraid to get a couple of your colleagues and friends together and firstly connect up and see if there is anything going on in your area. But if there isn't, these things don't have to be super expensive. There's an online store called Canva. Amelia, you might put the link up, which is basically a way to do really simple graphics, really low cost. And with digital printing, it can be really cheap, but obviously you don't have to print at all if you're using digital media to do things. I know Amelia's become quite an expert in Canva, but there's lots of different graphics that you can put together, and even someone with no experience like myself can make something look semi-decent. There's also big campaigns going around now, both with other businesses and also state and nationally. So if you haven't connected to these, I really recommend that you do. The Go Local First campaign is running them at the moment. It's from the National Business Chamber, I believe. And I think Amelia will give you some links for this as well. And I have, so they've got quite a big advertising budget. I think it's, you know, through all of the business chambers contribute to it. And so it's getting really good coverage on social media, as well as on things like paid advertising. This tells a lot about me, but I was playing Candy Crush the other day and it came up on that. And what they're doing is that it's a peer campaign, a sort of a crowdsourced campaign. so that you can go here, fill in about your business and put a picture up and about who you are, because it's very much about local business people too, and they will actually advertise on your behalf into your area. So if you get selected, so try and tell a good story, and you can get free marketing through something like this, which is a national campaign. And really lovely, I think, for me, it's really connected. I love the graphics. It's really simple, but it's a way to connect in that bigger picture as well. Other organisations, Visa has a campaign, American Express has a campaign. So if you are trading using any of those cards, see what they've got and see how you can connect and take advantage of it. Many of them are looking for content. They're looking for content partners, which means businesses like you that have got a great story. So I'm not sure what the farmer is growing, or but that kind of thing. People want to have these things. They want to tell a story about real people out, and they will support it. So Visa's campaign is all about makers. So there's wineries and bakers and potteries, etc. I think you would have seen it maybe also on television. And those would be more professional, but like one of those is somebody from my country town now down in Berrima, the Berrima Pottery. And since that, I've been gifted over the last 9 months 2 gifts from the Berrima Pottery. From my local family, etc., who are down there. So don't think that you're too small or not interesting enough, because that's what actually so many people do, and the people who put their hand up actually get the opportunity. So do a bit of research, and if they send you something saying get involved, have a look and see if it is for you. It could be a great opportunity. The other thing is that your local council and tourism officers and regional tourism, including Destination New South Wales, are also looking for ways to support businesses. This is the heart of the city for Auckland, which I really love their campaign. I think it's really beautiful, and even if you are in lockdown and you can't go there, then you can still be building the brand and reminding people what's on offer. We were going to show you, there's a campaign being run at the moment out of a freelance advertising agency, which is basically telling Melburnians to keep the hell away from the regions. It's pretty graphic, some of it. It's very kind of bolshy, because it's saying actually, you know, we love you, but we don't want you here. This is obviously pre the level 4 lockdowns. But there's different ways to kind of connect with people, regardless of whether they can go tomorrow or not. And this, I guess, is 2 examples, if you are in tourism, to be thinking about. On the left-hand side is one that's a regional Destination New South Wales campaign. It's not very specific. It's making me think, oh, that looks lovely and maybe I need to go on holiday, but it's obviously at a regional level kind of just trying to get people to think about New South Wales and the offer in general, and really pretty, but not going to do sales for me. On the other side, this also was obviously sort of pre the June long weekend. I love this bit of advertising going. I can't stop thinking about it. I love the fact that it says come find us. For me, that's really, it's like a bit of a challenge. The image is obviously gorgeous, that little red house. I don't know what it is, but I want to go and find it. And then it gives me some really key pieces of information. So it's the June long weekend, so I start thinking about that. And if you're not thinking about the October long weekend, you know, you should be, so start thinking about that now. It's got the date there, and it's got the location, and it's got cellar door and Greenway wines, which are great for people coming out of Sydney or big metro cities and wanting to come to the regions for these breaks that maybe aren't as far away, that they're not flying, so they want to drive or catch the train, and you can really talk to that, I think, in your area. And this can be simple, like if you've got a shop that's down in a back street or far away, this idea of making it a bit of an adventure for people is actually one that's really good in marketing, because yeah, people like me love that, and it's the whole FOMO, the fear of missing out, that encourages people kind of to follow their curiosity. Partnering can be in different ways as well. On the left-hand side, this is an ice cream business. that was looking for partnerships with other businesses. I'm still, I think, I would love to have a place score ice cream that I could send out to my customers. I think it's really fun. I can imagine on the first, I mean, today would have been a great day, the first day of spring. So be thinking about things like the first day of summer, that you could actually send out a gift to people that have been loyal to you, or maybe give free ice creams if you've got a shop, etc. But what I loved about this is that you could match the ice cream to your business. So I could make a flavor. So green is my color. Maybe I have a pistachio ice cream. This could be done really easily. It could be cookies, or it could be muffins, or things that you might be able to make at home, or partner with other groups like Rotary or the Country Women's Association. And the one on the right-hand side is that sort of partnership. So Jimmy Brings is an alcohol delivery service. Over the period of the great toilet paper, I don't know what it was, famine of 2020, you would get toilet paper that would be delivered with your alcohol. But for every toilet paper roll, $1 was donated to UNICEF's coronavirus fund for support of children globally. And so you can start thinking about partnerships across multiple kind of ways. So we start thinking, going, well, there's the business to business, there's business to charity, and then how do you actually involve the community and your customers in that as well, and can create some really interesting kind of opportunities there. So even thinking about, well, we've got someone here is in accommodation and publishing. Well, that could be something. Well, you know, do you have a beautiful little story about your business that you could publish? Or if it is, who else have we got in here? We had people from farming. Again, with the accommodation, going, when I arrive, do I get a beautiful basket of fresh produce that's from the local area? And it tells me a bit. I know one of the campaigns that the Windsor mall traders are looking at is made in Windsor, so something that's actually made in the Hawkesbury, that really connects. So it doesn't have to be super expensive, it doesn't have to be super complicated, it doesn't have to be massive, but really great opportunities to partner are ones that actually are the most underutilized. I think as business owners, we get head down, bum up, and we don't look at what else is out there. But these things can actually share the load, especially with marketing, because if you've got two sets of databases or two sets of social and you're cross-marketing between those, then you're getting twice as many customers as you would have before. So that's something to think about as well. This is probably my most favorite section. Start writing questions, guys, as well, because this is the last section, and then we'll be opening it up for some questions. Creating a unique point of difference that is media friendly. I know that sometimes you see things like this and you're like, whoa, you know, that's kind of a bit scary or crazy. And it's not for everyone. So different customers are going to respond to different types of marketing and ideas, and different businesses are going to, you know, have a different risk profile. But when it's done right, it can really put you on the map. So that can be really exciting, because, you know, businesses can really change everything, like by having a campaign that goes viral. However, on the other side, you have to be prepared for success. So a viral campaign can completely change your whole business and attract huge amounts of people, which in the current situation isn't necessarily a great thing unless they're coming online. But people from far and wide, because of course online viral campaigns are not geographically dependent. I love this. I just think it's so clever. Now, I don't know if this is going to trigger some things for some people, but what a risky and courageous thing for Helsinki to do. To say, going, you know, we know it's almost unbearable for human life here, but we are going to welcome those people that come. And I was thinking about this in the context of your towns in the Hawkesbury, and saying, going, what do people get? What's their first idea of a welcome? What's the messaging that you're giving when they do get off the train, or they get out of the car, or they walk into town? You know, how are you welcoming them? What is the story that you're actually sharing with them? And is that, whether or not, it doesn't have to be obviously signage like this at an airport, but if you think about the competition for sort of heritage towns across Australia, there is a lot of them. And so how do you actually make your area distinct And then when we make it that even more micro, how do you do that at your own business level? What happens when people get to your front door or enter your front door? What kind of experience are they having that's actually going to say, you're the right customer for us? Because that's what this is saying. It's going, you know, we're attracting the right kind of people for our city. And so what kind of the kind of people you want to attract for your business, and how do you actually welcome them? These are two different campaigns. On the left, I'm not sure if you've seen it, but this really went viral very early. This is in the Netherlands. And these were these little glass house dining booths. Now, my feeling is, based on the fact of the timing of this, because it was so early, that this probably was something that they were already doing or planning to do before COVID hit Europe. Because, you know, actually what they're great for, and what I was thinking about in the Hawkesbury, is they're also great for weather, inclement weather. Like if it's cold, you can really cozy up in there. Or if it's windy, it would also be very cute to be in something like this. And we've seen that in other businesses. So I think now you must be able to order them, because they're in quite a lot of areas in Sydney, and bars and on rooftops of these igloo dinings. Areas where you can hire their little igloo out. And I'm seeing it now push into the similar ideas into the fringe festivals in Europe over summer, where different areas are set up and there's a table that's isolated from each people, and you can go in there and you book in for that and you stay in that space, and you order online. So there's different ways to create really interesting, engaging places that respond to COVID, but also could be used actually to create something very romantic, I think, which that looks like, or that manages weather. If you haven't seen the freak shakes on the right, you're probably looking at them going, who would actually eat those? This has been a phenomenon though. It started in a little cafe in Canberra, in the middle of Civic. If you know Canberra at all, it's not the most engaging place. In this sort of back, kind of off of back plaza, like really in, you know, nothing exciting or interesting or cool or funky. So they developed this new product called these freak shakes. For me, they look absolutely terrifying. I think I would probably have a sugar pass out or something within 3 minutes of trying to eat one, but glorious for the Instagrammable kind of, you know, marketing kind of capacity. Within weeks of these launching, it went absolutely crazy global viral. People were driving 12 hours, like from Melbourne and Adelaide to come, and there were queues of people waiting outside of this coffee shop cafe before it opened every morning. It was the busiest, actually, the centre of Canberra I think has ever been, and it completely changed the audience for everybody. So suddenly they had, you know, huge numbers, hundreds and hundreds of young people coming to the centre of town. So there's a couple of things you can learn from that. One is that you might have it. It might be that, you know, you already have a product that you do, like hot chocolate, and you might have a giant hot chocolate that's, you know, for sharing, for romance, or that it might be something that is, you know, beautiful homemade, or that there's teapots that you've collected from around town that you serve your afternoon tea in. It doesn't have to be as dramatic as this, because going the negative of this is they had to service that huge population, and then eventually it became viral in that other businesses started copying it as well, which is, I guess, great sign of success, but not necessarily great if it's local, because you don't really want that. So, you know, the biggest pancake, or, you know, something that is kind of special that you can do there, really fantastic. Or it could be a charity event of saying, I know one of the simplest things we used to do as kids was getting all the coins, and you do the long line. So down a street or a pedestrian mall like Windsor Mall, that you could get everyone to come in and do that, or create an artwork saying, you know, I love Windsor, or I love Richmond. There's all different ways that you can create this kind of standout photographic. You want it to be really photogenic, because people do love that, and that's how it gets that viral campaign. If you've got an idea, well, unless you don't want anyone to steal it, feel free to put it in the chat, and I'd be happy to talk through that as well. This is one I just saw last week. It's called Goat to Meeting. If you don't know, there's another app not like, I mean, like Zoom, called GoToMeeting. And so what this group has done is that they've partnered with a whole lot of animal sanctuaries. It's actually an American business, but I just think this is so awesome. And someone like me who does lots of Zoom, so we could have a goat here with us. I would hire a goat and make a donation, which would go to the animal sanctuaries. It's great for kind of employee engagement. It's kind of funny. I hope you're laughing. I think it's adorable. Everyone in my office is desperate for one. And, you know, depending on what animal is available, you might get a goat, or you might get a llama, or you might get a cow, or whatever's actually healthy and happy to participate. But you can obviously see all their faces there. This is, if you have a commercial business, like a great way to sort of think about freshening things up. Or it's a business in its own right, particularly kind of for those people who may not be trading as much as they want. If you're in health services, or beauty services, etc., which have been quite limited, that you could be doing training, maybe not with a goat, but you could have a guest model or an ambassador or someone else that you might actually invite in to kind of create a new experience for people who are kind of slightly, I guess, getting tired of meeting the same people all the time. And the last idea that I wanted to share is this. So this was coming around Sydney, and now I think it's been going around Brisbane. It's a partnership. In Sydney, it was with a bar that's in my local area. I found out about it way too late, so I didn't get to enjoy it. But during the stage 3 lockdowns in Sydney, this wonderful cocktail shaker full of cocktails, you could get it to come to your house and it would pour you a cocktail. So it was obviously a big engagement, and the Monkey Shoulder, which is the whiskey, obviously paid for this as their brand campaign, but then they partnered with everyone else. And this again is a really good example of, I don't have the marketing budget, but I've put all my money into kind of one basket as such, and then I'm actually trading off everyone else's. So for me, it was a bar called the Roosevelt Bar that partnered, and so you had to link in and join their Facebook in order to get on the list to get the free cocktail. Again, doesn't have to be as grand as this, but there was a few things I thought was really clever about this. In that partnership model of, you know, selling my product through another third party. Graphically, it's obviously really cool. It's very much, you know, part of that whole, like, I'm really empathetic with what's going on in the city, so I want, you know, to be able to bring your cocktails to you. I create entertainment, I create Instagram stories, so there's a whole lot of things that it's actually ticking off on. That really makes it actually a good investment. But again, it doesn't have to be this grand. So just finishing up then from me, and please do ask questions. We've only got less than 10 minutes now. But the types of things, I guess the way that you might be thinking about, how can I work this out? Amelia will put these links in there as well for you. So do copy and paste them or open them now while you're online. Is that one of the things that stops us, I think, from doing really creative marketing is that we get stuck in kind of what's worked before. Next week, as I said, is going to be all about customers and how they've changed. But businesses need to change too and be kind of refreshed and think differently. So if you're speaking to the same people who are existing customers, they're probably not going to be the ones that are going to tell you how to get different customers or new customers. Talk to your employees, talk to your nieces and nephews if they're a lot younger, or talk to friends who might be going to other businesses in other areas and see what ideas, and do brainstorming. Like, try and get as many ideas as possible and don't restrict them before you've got them all down. I think we go, oh, but what's the problem of how can we do that? Wait until you've got all the ideas down. Be really bold for your long list of ideas. Like, don't let anything go off the table. In a way, the crazier the better, because just the natural attrition and kind of the practicalities will get everything, you know, smaller and, you know, more manageable. If it's never been done before, I think that's a great start, particularly if you want to end up at that side. So people go, oh, okay, we did this because I saw it worked really well somewhere else. that be careful of. I've spoken to quite a few people recently and they're like, oh, we did something. And I'm like, yeah, but if you're kind of like me and you're trying to attract tourists, for instance, I've seen that in 10 other locations. So it might be the first time for you, but if you're wanting someone like me who travels around a lot, you need to do something even more bold than that, just because it hasn't been done in the Hawkesbury. You really, I said this earlier, but find the thing that is unique about you. Ask people, like, what do you do really, really well? If you have anything, well, I mean, everyone does, but if you have anything that is truly unique, like maybe globally unique, that it is like a type of apple that only grows on your farm. I was hearing about some miniature apple in Tasmania that apparently it's perfect, but it's like one mouthful and it's got, I don't know, it's like this mysterious apple. I'm like, I want to know about that apple, right? I'm like, I would go and I would drive to go and find that apple. If I could, you know, juice my own apple juice, I know that you've got that there. Last time I was up in the Hawkesbury, I got the most amazing case of mandarins. You know, I would love fresh mandarin juice during season being sold in the shops in town, because that's something I can't get anywhere else. So, or it might be you as an individual, as a business owner, you might be the thing that's truly unique. It's your story about how you've started your business. So don't be afraid of sharing that as well. I am, you know, I'm a really big advocate for testing things, not getting too deep. So you might trial something, and it might be just going, okay, we're only going to do this on Thursday afternoons for 4 weeks. And if it's great and it has a great response, then you can do something differently. Equally, if you're going to do a programmed campaign, like doing something like weekly specials, etc., you need to build some consistency and trust with your customers, because they don't want to be going, oh, is there something on? They want to know every Thursday they do a locals lunch. So that's really important as well, in terms of kind of not always having to rely on trying to search for things. I just want to know, oh, I'm hungry, let's go down there and have a look. So I don't have any questions yet, but I am opening the floor. We've got a few minutes. If you want to ask a specific question about one of your businesses, or if you've got an idea that you want to talk about. I know someone must have an idea for something or a type of business that you might want some input on. Very quiet. Okay, we're all being shy. Hopefully by next week you'll be a little bit more happy to have your voice. So just a reminder, so next week, redefining your customer, pivoting your product. So as I said, that we've been doing some deeper research on the population of the Hawkesbury, who it is today and how it's changing. We'll be developing up some personas, which are customer profiles, looking at different types of customers and how you can develop products and marketing that actually match those customers. I can't tell you how often, I think one of the biggest problems, and I know Annie will agree with me, is that people go, oh, it's just for everybody. You can be much more specific and get a lot more benefit from both your marketing spend, but also your investment in different products if you really focus on exactly who it is. And when I mean that, it's not just for women, it might be women of a certain age, or it might be women of certain culture or lifestyle, and that goes through for every customer base, whether or not they're visitors or people in the local community. So I'll sign off now and hopefully see you all again next week. Please do send this through if you thought it was valuable. We'll also, as I said, be recording this, and they'll be loaded up over the next month onto the council website, so other people can come and see them at their leisure. I hope you have a wonderful afternoon and a beautiful spring day, and I'll see you next week. Thanks, everybody.